Good to go.
All right. Well, this is SANDCAST, beach volleyball with Bourne and Travis Mewhirter back in Hermosa Beach doing our monthly fan question episode. We don't have Savvy today, so Savvy is currently competing for UCLA, which is the number 4 ranked team in the country, and Savvy's on court 1. Can't do in person with her yet because she needs, I think, the second dose of the vaccine for UCLA to let her travel. And we're trying to get as many in-person podcasts as we can until we're both not in the same country, which is about to be fairly soon for a fairly long time.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, it's good to be back in person. It's just easier to podcast that way, more enjoyable for sure. But yeah, right now it's crazy time for everybody.
yeah,
The college game is gnarly because you're in college, you're already like away from home and living in dorms, and then you're like stuck in your dorms and playing with masks. The indoor teams are playing with masks on.
that's crazy.
So gnarly. And as for us, we're just coming up on the end of our off season, which I was thinking about it. It's like playing in the NBA, but starting your season in the playoffs.
Yeah,
That's basically what we're doing.
yeah.
We're actually starting our season in like the second round of the
Yeah,
playoffs.
well, it's kind of, I mean, you guys had a similar thing because the NBA, when they put up the bubble, that's kind of what they had to do at the end, right? I mean, because they had their season, had 4 regular season games in the bubble before they went into the playoffs
Right.
after like a 6-month delay.
But they had played some of their regular season before
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
Dude, we played AVPs, but we haven't played on the World Tour in
just 3.
over a year.
Yeah.
Like traveling and playing, and now we have to go out there to this bubble in the qualifier and win a quota and 2 qualifier matches 3 times in a row just to get the chance to pass back
Yeah.
Jake and Taylor and Phil and Nick
Yeah.
against all the best teams in the world
Yeah.
with no warm-up tournaments.
Yeah. Well, we technically have one coming up. So this comes out Wednesday, tomorrow, and Friday.
Yeah.
The 16th Street. So every now and then, I haven't played in one of these yet, but every couple weeks or so, I guess, they put on like a little mini tournament just as a little tune-up.
Yeah, exactly. We're just trying to make up competition so that it doesn't feel like we're fully coming off of preseason, which is different for me and Trev because a few teams got to go over to Doha and play, including yourself. But this is only our second time we actually have done this tournament, this little make-up mini tournament. Yeah. But that'll be fun. I mean, if you're a volleyball fan, Thursday and Friday, get down to the beach
Come on out
and watch. There's not many fans around, but there's a few people that come by and watch. And I mean, last tournament, I'm pretty sure you got to watch April and Alex against Mel and Sarah, which ended up being the final.
You're watching literally the biggest finals matches in 16th Street.
Yeah, right, exactly. That was the World Championships final and also Doha final and a lot of AVP
and
finals.
Final.
Yeah.
I think they've now played, since the Olympic qualification period began, they've played in 7 finals. And
In FIVB?
In both. So
Oh,
AVP
both. Okay,
and FIVB.
yeah.
So, and you've had some big, like, World Championship finals, Manhattan Beach finals. And now that Doha one was a big one because April and Alex won and are now mathematically qualified. Maybe the first team to mathematically qualify of the women's side.
Oh, really?
Because the other teams that are qualified, like Mel and Pav, they made it because they won World Champs, which gives them a spot.
Right.
But just on straight up math alone,
Yeah.
I think April and Alex might be the first and only.
Yeah, I mean, there's teams that qualified for making the finals of a random China event that Americans weren't allowed to play in and qualify in. This is a dumber sport, stuff like that. We were talking about it earlier, how some teams have given up on the World Tour and they're just focusing on the Continental Tour so that they can get a bid. Like, how does that make sense? To get into this biggest tournament, you stop playing against the best and you just try to backdoor it.
Right.
But don't get me started.
Because for our listeners, I don't know if we've given like a full breakdown of how the Olympic spots are chosen.
You should watch the McKibbins video.
Yeah.
That's the best breakdown I think that we've seen.
Yeah.
Like, they give you visuals and everything.
Yeah. So there's 24 spots. 15 go to the top 15 ranked teams of the Olympic qualification period. Kind of. Because then there's a spot for the World Championship winners, there are 2 spots for making the finals of the Olympic qualification tournament, which, as Tri mentioned, the U.S. didn't play because I don't think USAV would have honored those if we did it.
USAV said, even if you win this, we're not giving one of the American spots to the team that wins it.
Yeah.
We're going to give it to the top 2 within the top 16 that qualify, which makes sense. But the fact that they put this tournament on randomly, like maybe China paid a lot to do it, is so dumb. Great for our very own guest, Tina Gradina, who won it.
Yeah.
So we have Tina's playing in college and she's already qualified for the Olympics. She's been qualified for like a year and a half.
Yeah, she's chilling.
So that's one way. And then continue.
Yeah, so we have 15 for the top 15 teams in the Olympic ranks, which is your best 12 finishes from when it began, which I think the first tournament was the one that you won with Trevor in Yangzhou. So your best 12 finishes throughout the Olympic qualification period. Then you have 1 spot for world champs, 2 spots for the Olympic qualification tournament, 1 spot if you are the host country, and then you have 5 spots for the continental champions. So they're trying to be very inclusive. So there's a spot for the Oceanic continent, Europe, Asia, the Norseka region, which is ours, and Africa. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially how you can qualify for the Olympics. But then, of course, you have your weird exceptions because you have your country quota. So you can't send more than 2 teams to the Olympics. So Brazil currently has like 4 teams in the top. And our women have 4 teams in the top, which means that now you have to bypass those 2 spots and go to the top 17 in the country. So it's pretty complicated.
It's complicated, and it's great, like, for the Olympics, like what it is. It's a world games. Everyone, all the best come together and let's play from all over the world. Like, that's great. But the problem is the Olympics have become the center, the main Super Bowl mecca of so many sports, like every sport that's not the mainstream, basketball, football, baseball. So it's really not fair in that sense. Like, for it to be our Super Bowl, it should just be like the best go.
Like World
if it's this one-off thing that everyone gets to go to and play for fun, it's like great. Like, this is a little global event and it's structured a certain way, but it's become our Super Bowl. And like every small sports Super Bowl. So the system of like, let's just give Africa a spot just for the hell of it, just because we want an African team there, and then they get blown out. It's just it's basically a bye for one team. Yeah. And then you have a top team in the world sitting at home watching. That's the lame part about it, but that's the reality as well. Yeah. I just want to see the rest of the sport. Like, let's make our world champs the Super Bowl. Yeah. Not the Olympics.
World champs, which is crazy. So I was looking at the viewership numbers. World championships had double the amount of viewers on the live stream than the Super Bowl.
What?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah. So I mean, it's World Championships is a week-long affair, so it's kind of unfair in that sense.
Right. Because Super Bowl is a 3-hour thing.
Right. But more people, literally more people, double the amount of people watch World Championships than the Super Bowl.
That's hard to believe.
Which is pretty cool. I don't know. Obviously, financially, it doesn't do as well.
Super Bowl is not globally as
not global, and it's literally just like a 4-hour, 5-hour time slot.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
But I mean, beach volleyball globally, it's just wildly popular.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's crazy that it's not thriving necessarily. Yeah. Like, it's at the point right now, and it goes through ups and downs constantly throughout the history. But like right now, I'd say it's a down for sure. Whereas when I came first on tour, the World Tour was very strong, and it's like we're playing World Tour, like great events, great money, top teams are there, everything makes sense. Now it's like points are all over. We're going to events we don't even want to play in. The money's not really like enticing anywhere, like in any event. There's no 5 stars right now. Yeah. So the fact that it's so popular and so many people want to watch it, but we can't figure it out, is a little
I would
crazy.
Love to see, because I was talking to someone about, they were asking the Olympic race, and can Kelly Kalinske and Emily Stockman jump Brooke and Carrie. I was like, it would be so much more interesting if, I think Ostravaz, the final event of the qualification period, if that were a 5-star. Because usually when we had Furby on, he was talking about Rome being that last event. Usually there's a 5-star as the final qualification event. And stuff can go crazy because the points in 5 stars are bananas.
It was a Grand Slam when Furby was playing, right?
Yeah. And
it used to just be Grand Slams and Opens, which is like 5 stars and 3 stars. But there was like 8 to 10 5-stars.
Yeah.
And then there was 8 to 10 3-stars, which were Opens. And you didn't have to play in these Opens because you had that.
You had all the big ones.
You know, over Olympic qualification period of a year and a half, you stacked up, I don't know, 20, 18 Grand Slams.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't really need the Opens. You throw those in every once in a while.
Yeah. But it would be so cool if there was a 5-star with a huge amount of points on the line, just to see all the madness that could happen. Because I did a story for the FIVB this morning on the teams that are ranked 10 through 15, getting on those 5 final point slots that aren't American. Because, I mean, we obviously have our own internal battle going on.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, there could be so much jumping just in Cancun, but if there were a 5-star too, it'd be crazy.
Right.
It'd be super fun to watch.
Yeah, because the gap could, someone having a bad finish in the 5-star and another team having a good one could erase the last 3 like 4 stars.
Just everything changes.
Yeah.
It would be super cool. So I mean, gosh, I hope it gets upgraded, at least in points, just to make it interesting.
Totally, yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah. But you have,
we'll see.
In a couple weeks, 2 weeks almost exactly, you'll be traveling for the first time in 13 months.
Yep. We're headed to Cancun on April 9th.
Okay.
Through May 2nd, I believe.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Which normally sounds good. Cancun for 3 weeks. But it's a bubble. Yeah. And apparently they're giving like little windows of when you can go to the ocean, which is blowing my mind.
Gosh,
I'm like, the ocean's the safest place from COVID.
Yeah.
But like, they're going to give you little activity windows. Okay, you guys can go at this time.
You can go on a field trip.
Oh my God, this is going to be insane.
Yeah, the resort looked nice anyway.
That's good.
And it looked all inclusive and whatever. And Doha, like the FIVB did a great job, but
nice. It
was not a 90 teams on the men's side were signed up. This is colossal. And I mean, 12, 15 teams tested positive in Doha. So how they navigate what to do with those athletes is going to be so interesting.
Yep.
But so I looked at the entry list, and so no Americans got wild cards. I was kind of surprised by. Do you know where you stand?
We're the 3 seed in the qualifier.
So if 3 teams drop out of Maine, which happened in Doha, then you'll be in and won't have to do a quota.
Right.
Okay.
If not, we play your boys. Came in Theo.
Should have been me.
Should have been you.
Yeah.
That's another long story.
Yeah. So we had a long registration drama.
Trav's not too happy with them right now.
No. So I'm on a mission to beat Cam and Theo this year.
Yeah. There we go.
I'll play them at some point.
I got you.
I'm excited. But so if you don't get in, you'll have Cam and Theo again. And then if you win the country quota, you'll be in the qualifier.
Right. Yep.
And then you guys are down 40 points to Phil and Nick.
Yeah.
So then it's pretty much between you two. Not that Jake and Taylor are mathematically in, but they're pretty safe.
Yeah, I mean, they just got to be steady, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, if, what happened in Doha, the top 2 teams are in the semifinals, which is worst case scenario for the other team.
Right.
If that were to happen to that, like us and Phil go to the semis and they get a bad finish, we jump pretty damn close.
True.
And there's 5 events, so all I know is
it's close.
The deck is stacked against us right now.
Yeah.
From all these setbacks, just so many setbacks.
Yeah.
Can't even comprehend. I don't even want to think about them anymore. But I'm also getting excited for the challenge. It's like, the more the deck's stacked against you, the more it's like, well, screw it. You're not supposed to do this now.
And Trevor loves that stuff.
Trev likes it. He'll get up for it. I'll get up for it. Like, we kind of like having our backs against the wall, like people doubting us. Us getting the majority of the setbacks versus the other two teams. Mostly, which was, well, there's just so many, but mostly it was me breaking my hand.
Yeah.
And that kind of like set off a landslide of unfortunate events that lost us our lead. But I mean, if you're a fan, I know it's hard to follow along, but do your best because it's going to be entertaining. We're going to try to create some content around it. Obviously, podcast will be going, but also McKibbins are going to try to create some content around it. And so just stay tuned and dial in and send the Americans the energy. But just me and Trevor when I say Americans. Send the other Americans all bad energy because when it comes to us battling against the rest of the world, we're not. We're just battling against each other.
Which is crazy.
That's how our system works, which is really dumb.
Yeah. So doing our best to change it. And you know Brazil is. Brazil has been trying to get the country quota stuff changed for a while.
They're really fired up about it, and so am I. But we got feedback from the rest of the players in the world, and they're all like, no, we love
the country
we love the quota because we get free spots and we don't have to earn it against the best teams in the world. Soft ass people.
I love a little edge on the podcast.
Hey, the edge is out there right now, so we're just sharing it.
Yeah.
We understand better than, or as good as anyone, that everyone has their perspective.
Yeah.
And ours are very unique right now. But I think it should be said.
I do too. I mean, that's what we're here for.
If you are a player and you think the other teams that are ranked higher than you and playing better than you should not go over you, you're soft. Share with me the other perspective.
I love that.
But most of the players in the world, there was a player poll, and they voted for the country quota to stay. Whereas you have like Carol, who's like top 10 in the world and not going to go.
Yeah.
Like multiple times, years after years after years, she's just balling out and not going because Brazil is so good.
Yeah.
And it's BS.
Yeah. And which is why you have Brazilians kind of defecting, like Jefferson, who played with Shreve.
Sure.
You know, he's like, well, I'm 8th in the Brazilian system, which is like 10th in the world, but I'm
it is.
For Qatar.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, let's say I lose out on this, knock on wood, on this spot again. Like, I could go play for Sweden probably.
Yeah.
All my grandparents from there. I have a ton of blood. I could probably go play for Sweden.
Yeah.
I could probably go. I'm sure Qatar would love to have me too.
Oh yeah. They'll make that offer.
And then maybe the system will change. You know. I mean, shoot, I'm open as long as there's a big number there. No, I'm joking. Not really.
Well, it's been funny because like at Norseca's, I've been approached by the Samoa Federation. They were like, "Are you going to make the Olympics for the U.S.?" I was like, "No,
right,
probably not."
Dude,
like, your passport works for
I'm
me.
born and raised in the Polynesian Triangle. I'm basically Samoan. Yeah. Can't you tell?
He was like, "It works for us if you're going to play for us." Virgin Islands always sends American teams. He was like,
"What about Hawaii? Hawaii's
basically its own country.
Or like Guam or Puerto Rico. Guam's basically Hawaii too. In surfing, Hawaiians will compete in the Olympics for the U.S., but on tour, in the world tour, Hawaiians are separate from the U.S.
Really?
They're their own country.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
We should do that.
That'd be funny.
We'd be great.
Yeah, no kidding. You guys got 4 Olympic teams.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, anyway, let's get to these fan questions.
Yes, we'll lead our crusade against the country quota later. So we have a ton of fan questions, and we will start with a couple. The most popular questions are training tips, and just kind of like, what's it like being a professional beach volleyball? How can I improve my level? So this one is a good one for both of us. This is from Pad Stackerton. And keep in mind, these are all Instagram names, so
not real names.
He says, any tips for overcoming taller opponents?
Oh, yeah. I'd like to ask the same question too.
Yeah. Well, I think you can watch a lot of... So I watch a ton of the Latvians play because they're both 6'3", 6'4", about my height. And they just run really fast in the option.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think for sure like what I get from that, what you just said is move it around, change it up, change tempos. Don't come straight at a big block and like keep coming at them and let them set up in one spot, because then they can take the max amount of court, and that's kind of what they want. So change it up, but you don't want to. I think sometimes when teams get too shooty and like running low sets, now you can clamp yourself too, you know, if it's too tight, or if it's off the net and you're coming in, you know, you're just closing your window. Yeah. So you don't want to do that to yourself. Yeah. And I'd say if you do run an up and down set, like how I do, even against, you know, the top teams, which, I mean, I'm 6'5" and can jump, so I'm not small, but against these other guys, these giants on the world tour, I'm average size. And the key is to go change your tempos. So come in hard, shoot, come in to shoot, go hard, come in to hit, come in slow and go slow. You know, like feel what their timing is and try to change that up. And then, run a shoot, run a push, go back, make these big guys move, especially if it's like a Ryan Doherty, for example. Like I've seen Adrian break his ankles, like running all over the place, you know, because his feet aren't that fast. Whereas you have like, you know, Anders obviously is the best of the best. He's an athletic big. So like you might be moving and he's fast enough to get there and you're not really doing anything but clamping yourself. Yeah. But I think, the biggest thing is change it up. Yeah. Switch it up. And then defensively it can be frustrating as well, but changing your serve, you know, a deep serve, maybe getting them a really long approach so they're not step closing close to the net and reaching over you, or a short serve, even like a big guy like Ryan or something who's 7 foot, he has to bend all the way down, and then he doesn't get a big approach. Now a big guy without a big approach means they're not jumping as high. And then, I mean, if they're hitting straight over you, tell your defender to stand behind you. Just soft block it and make them hit it right over you, to your defender. And then also defensively playing those angles. You got to take chances. Like if you try to play that high line and dig the hard driven on a guy that can hit it like straight down, you got to commit to one or the other, or else you're not going to get either. So just like fully get in that angle and like put your back on the line and dig it up, or fully like get ready for the high line and give up that sharp cut. Yeah, I like moving it around, because what you're doing, you're not only making the block move, but you're making it easier for you to see what the defense is doing. Because if I run an outside set and I see the blocker come all the way outside with me, that also lets me know that the defender is probably not on the line, which leaves the line shot open or a quick hard angle open. So it gives you a pretty clear image of what you're facing defensively, which makes it a lot easier. That's one of my favorite parts about playing big blockers, is that you can see things so much better. Because my vision is more blocker based than defender based. Me too, I kind of feel where the blocker is and make my decision based on that. Assuming that the defender's doing the opposite. Right. Yeah. And then if they're doubling up, then it's just you need to adapt back and change things. But if they're doubling up, that means they're leaving a ton of court open, which is a huge gamble on their part. Yeah, exactly. So I play the same way, and it's probably why I play that way. Plus, when you move the block, like you said, you can see it better, but also the block's drifting usually. Like it's really hard for them to get their feet set and go straight over. So if you hit off the block, it's a drifting block. It's a lot easier to tool than one that's set up. And one thing I think Delaney is so good at, she runs this back set that she is like a back set slide, where you swing with the blocker, the direction the blocker is going, not back into the block. Because if you go with the direction the blocker is going, his hands are going to be moving to the line, for example. If you swing line, well, it's going to just bounce off the court. Yeah. Whereas if you swing back into the angle, you might get kind of an accidental redirect back into the court. Right. Even though it's so tempting if you run like an outside back set to bring it back to the angle, because it's kind of the glory ball, but the way easier, higher percentage shot is swinging with the blocker. And like, I think people are scared of, you know, really good players have just gotten so used to using the block, like swinging out of bounds. But I think it's easy to be scared to swing out of bounds. Yeah. Whereas like I'll do it all day. You know, if I'm out by the pin, like I literally made a living off of this indoor.
Yeah.
I'll just look and be like, are you going to put your hands near the pin? Put them there.
And
bing. And then it touches the antenna or whatever. Like, you guys can go scramble and try to get that ball off the court. We're getting a free ball back, if anything. Right. But I think you got to, like, take chances, like, in practice and stuff, and, like, swing out of bounds.
Yeah.
Like, I swung out of bounds match point of the AVP Porsche Cup.
Yeah.
When I knew Phil was there, I was like, I'm going to tool him off the right side of the court. And I swung high, and he's so big that his hand was fully over it, and I ended up tooling him off the left side of the court. Yeah. But I was swinging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I went low, he was on it.
And that's one of the good things about big blocks. I mean, everyone's greatest strength, the inverse is also their weakness. So their big size, they're taking a lot of court, but that also makes them a huge target. And it makes them less mobile. So no matter who you're playing, whatever their greatest strength is, find whatever the inverse is and use that to your advantage.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, if you play your game well, you'll usually figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, unless your game is just like 2 shots, and they're just one person stands in one of them and another one stands in another one, and that's all you got, then
we got bigger problems.
You got to go practice. Yeah. If you play your game well, you can kind of let the game come to you, I feel like.
Yeah. Next question. This is from Valley of the Sun. How often do you play versus how often do you practice? And I think this is a question that is a little nuanced because it changes as the season goes on. So in off season, like a lot of guys like you and Trev almost never play. It's just reps, really low impact, passing, setting, versus once, now we're getting closer to Cancun,
playing
and it's a lot more competition reps, getting in that competitive mode, figuring out what you're doing in game-like situations, and kind of translating all those off-season reps that you did into game-like scenarios.
Yep, exactly. I mean, you have to pick and choose for yourself what you're specifically training for. If you're early on in your career, you're young, you just came out to the beach, you want to get those live reps, just as much as the technical. I mean, if you have a good coach or like a really smart partner, then for sure you want to be drilling it out and like working out the kinks and learning the little nuances. But you also just need to be learning the flow of the game and like playing and feeling how it's going to feel on your body and whatnot. For us, like Jake Gibb, like he didn't show up to the last 2 practices because he's like, I get it. Like I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what's best for my body, Hayden would do the same thing. Very pick and choose, count every rep. They don't need the competition reps like other people do.
Yeah.
I'll take it a step further and say mentally you need to understand when you're drilling and when you're competing. And that's something that I'm actually dealing with right now. Being in this, however long this off season is, like 7-8 months, I'm so conditioned to be drilling and working on stuff right now that it's really difficult for me to just let go and be like instinctual try where I'm, I'll touch a ball, dive, and like, just like make stuff up and be creative.
Yeah.
It's been hard for me to get back to that. So my thought process is just remember when to turn it off. We're not trying to get better when you're playing a match. You're just trying to be present and like apply yourself and just let yourself do whatever's natural.
Yeah.
So mentally understand when, okay, this is drill time, this is time to get better, and then boom, turn it off. This is time to compete. You can be competing in drills. It's like just you have to know whether you're in compete mindset or drill mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the things I love that Jose, a lot of coaches do this, but Jose and Jordan Chang, I think, were the 2 guys I've seen that do it the most. They'll give you parameters even while you're competing. Like Jose will say, try, like your hard angle's taken away.
Yeah.
And so you're competing, but now you're also drilling because you need to find another way to get a kill when your strikeout pitch is gone.
And that's like playing against a big block, right?
Right.
Like a big block. Okay, this guy takes away my low seam. Like you can't hit it anymore. There's no line bounce, low seam. Now where do I play?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so those drills, and it's really important when you're doing that not to cheat and to get in uber competitive mode and just say, screw it, I'm abandoning what I'm working on because I want to win this meaningless practice game.
Right.
Then it's really important to get through that mental struggle and say, all right, I'm going to find a way to figure it out even when I don't have this available.
Yeah, and if you need to lose. But it's better than bailing yourself out.
Yeah.
Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next question. This is from T Run. What factors, and this is actually kind of a big one for pretty much everyone, but you, Trevor, Jake Tay, and Phil and Nick, what factors are you considering when finding and keeping a partner?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I take very seriously when it comes about, which is only like once.
Yeah. Well, you had, so your decision to play with Trevor wasn't easy because you were like one of the most marketable big men available, and you had a fair amount of guys asking you to play.
Yeah, well, so, yeah, when I played with Hayden, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I'm in. And then with Trev, we were just playing for fun. Like, I was coming back, I want to play for fun because I haven't played in 2 years, and I just need to play for the love of it again, and I'll play with my buddy, why not? And then we started winning, and I was like, but should we partner up? Like, this might not make sense, even though it's really fun and we're doing well. So, like, we fully were, both of us were like, okay, we're not partners this off season. Like, figure out what's best for you, I'll figure out what's best for me, and if you want to do this, then we'll commit, but we're going to put thought into it. And we did that and ended up wanting to play together. But my point is, I think putting a lot of thought into it. If you want to play at the highest level, World Tour, AVP, and you're going to be traveling with this person and spending time with them every day, your personality has to match up.
Right.
You have to, I would say go out there and test it. Don't just be like, we're going to play together, this is going to be awesome. Yeah, on paper it might be, but if you guys don't have each other's back, you don't work well through the lows. Everyone works well through the highs.
Oh yeah.
Then you might struggle, but you also have to be committed. So like, put the thought in, put pen to paper. What are your strengths? What are their strengths? Does that person's strengths work for your strengths and vice versa? And then once you commit, you're like, okay, I'm in. There's going to be crap times. I'm going to hate you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so sick of you. And we're going to grind through it no matter what.
Yeah.
I think that's the mentality.
I think at the level, I mean, especially your level, but even where I'm at, it becomes less about physical skills. I mean, obviously, if you have two blockers that can't defend, it's not going to be great.
Right.
So aside from the obvious physical skill set, I think it becomes more mental and more about, for me, it's kind of, because I'm in a phase where I'm kind of choosing like who to play with.
I know, I'm ready for you to have your long-term guy.
Yeah. And so like this year I told Adam, I was like, I'll do whatever. Because Adam's like dialed. And he's just like, all right, let's go. Like he sent me a schedule with like tournaments, how we're going to train, what we're going to do, like when we're going to be flying.
That's a huge piece of it. Like I used to play with Will Montgomery and he was really good. We're both young and at a fairly similar level. Obviously my trajectory was higher, but he was so good at like getting the workouts in. We're going to travel here. We're going to go to these events. Like he made me better.
Yeah.
Whether he played well or not didn't matter.
Right.
He was like, he lived the lifestyle, I guess, that I wanted to live and like held himself to the high standards. So it didn't matter if he played well. He made me better.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing.
Yeah. And so for me, it's that commitment because the guys where I'm at, we're in this tweener stage where we're good enough to make money, not good enough to make a living.
Right.
Now, I'm in a fortunate situation where the more events I play, like the better it is for my career as writer, podcaster, whatever.
Right.
So I'm in a unique scenario, but most of the guys can't be fully committed.
Right.
Right. And then here I have Adam, who's obviously had a very blessed and fortunate life, and he's like fully committed, but beyond that, he's also like fully bought in to me as a player and like 100% believes that like I can go as high as I want to, which is huge.
Right.
Because with Adam, there's no grass is greener on the other side.
Right.
Like most of the guys I play with, they're like, yeah, we'll see how this one tournament goes. And Adam, like, I'll never forget this scene. In Doha, we lose, and Adam takes losses super hard, and we didn't talk. I let him do his thing, and then we had to fly out at 4 the next morning. So we're in the elevator, neither of us had slept, and he was like, "You played awesome," and he was like, "I'm gonna let every defender in the U.S. know that you are a top big guy now." And so he literally called Billy Allen, kind of free agent guys who, and he was just he's ready.
Yeah.
Bought in. So he's I want to get you as high as
epic.
I can.
Yeah.
And when you're ready, I just want to help you out in your career. And having that belief is more than any, digs or sets or whatever.
Totally.
It's awesome. And playing with him, when we practice, it's so nice to know that if I have a bad practice, Adam isn't hey, Bruno, you want to run this season together? It's all right, well, what can we do to get better? And it's awesome. So I look more into the mental side of just who's going to commit and who actually believes that I can be, make 4 or 5 stars and actually win at that level.
The grass is always greener is always going to be an option. There's so many good players when you're trying to play at the top or at any level. There's going to be a lot of good players usually. So after a loss, it's so easy to see the grass is always green. Oh, well, that player's playing good. If me and him played together today, we would have smashed. Maybe I should be thinking about that.
Exactly.
It's such BS.
Yeah. Because you play against each other all the time in practice.
Right.
And especially, you guys are committed, but it's not if you guys beat Jake and Taylor would be try block Jake 5 times today. Jake, you're out.
Man, if I was with Try, yeah, exactly. Man, if I was with Jake on that point and Taylor on that point, I think I'd never lose a point.
Right.
It's so easy to see stuff like that and think about it, even with your coach, especially the longer you go with teams too, the more it's hard to not, you have to go through these highs and lows. It's a relationship,
Yeah,
it is a relationship.
Yeah, it's a big one, an important one.
Exactly.
So we have not too much longer for our time limit today, so we're going to move on to I sorted out the questions. A lot of people asking about the AVP. So Bruno Amarim asked, when will the AVP schedule be up? This is from Me Gusta Tacos, fantastic name. Any insider info on the AVP? Think fans can come? G-Man, hearing anything from the AVP about a season, bubble or cities? CPA dude, any news about the AVP? And Omez02, can you guys discuss the AVP grass tour? So I haven't heard anything about the AVP. Anything I have heard is just random speculation.
Yeah.
And that it'll probably start late summer. That's about all I know.
Yeah, I've heard some stuff, kind of seen tentative schedules, but it's made up because they want to give sponsors something to buy into. Sponsors aren't just going to give them money for nothing, you know what I mean? So they have to come up with something, but the fact that they can't announce it means that it's all tentative.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say too much, but I think there's some possibilities in June. Something similar to what happened in Long Beach, and that would be no fans, I believe. That was more of a bubble. But later in the summer, a Hermosa, a Manhattan, these are all being talked about. I want to say there was an Atlanta being talked about, bringing it back to there.
Yeah.
Those ones, I think they're trying to get fans to. So they're trying to get fans in. They're trying to backload it more maybe after the Olympics, which I think will help get all the top athletes there, which I'm excited about as much as I'd like to play earlier. But it's going to happen, people. It's hard for me to believe, especially with how much better COVID's getting in California.
Yeah.
If we have to keep the tour in California, let's do it.
Yeah.
Who cares? It's the best place to play in the U.S. In terms of just big beaches and space and a lot of volleyball fans, as much as we love going to all these other spots. But I'm confident that it's going to happen, and more of it will happen at the end, though, and nothing's going to happen before June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard most of that, but no idea.
Yeah, well, they're going to take a big break for the Olympics either way.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that almost everything's back behind the Olympics and we can just all forget about World Tour for a second and finally like get back to our domestic tour.
Yeah. Finally get you to play at home.
Dude.
Speaking of the Olympics, actually, here's a fun one from Rob Volley. If snow volleyball makes the Olympics, would you guys try to make the snow volleyball Olympic team? The Hawaii boys in.
Dude, I'm in. We could have like a few Hawaiians and a guy from Maryland, and we'd be in.
Set.
No, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to see how that worked out with like beach and like how much of a time commitment that would be. But God, that could be cool. Like a full brain reset, fresh. I like playing fours. I like playing middle and blocking.
Threes.
Oh, is it threes?
Snow's 3-on-3.
Okay, well, I like threes too.
Yeah. So you usually have, the way we did it, we had a setter.
Setters on defense and 2 blockers.
Yeah.
And then you have a sub.
Well, so I was our setter, and so I set, and, well, we kind of changed it. But at the end, we found our best one was when I set and was also
blocking.
Blocker.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because then it's just, you set, and then you're ready in trans.
Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I mean, I'd be open for sure. Go to 2 Olympics and
we'll see.
When is the Winter Olympics?
Yeah, it's winter. So it's,
when is it?
Well, I mean, it's 22, and it's just the opposite of summer.
Right, but this year's summer is 21, so yeah.
So it's 22. So we have back-to-back Olympics.
Imagine if you played 2021
on the beach and then 22 in snow. You just rotate every quad.
I would freaking do it.
Snow Olympic qualification starts and beach ends.
Why not?
Do that and switch.
I just need to figure out the whole like hand situation because I'm not good in the cold.
A lot of guys play with gloves.
Yeah, I'll play with gloves, 100%.
The setter, I mean, I couldn't set with gloves on, so I played.
I'll have electric socks, the electric hand warmer, beanie. I'll have the most clothes on, I guarantee you that.
I've seen you and Trevor come out when it's like 45, 50 degrees, and you might as well be playing snow.
Oh, dude, I wear gloves, sand socks. I had a beanie on today. It was 75. But that's because I was trying to simulate Cancun a little bit.
We have, this is kind of a fun one that we talk about it semi-frequently. We probably have time for 2 more questions. It's like 1:48. This is from Casey the Chemist. How do you see the evolution of the sport 5 years from now? And I think to make this simple, we can just make it, how do you see the evolution of the sport through the Paris Olympics? Because we're kind of a quad-based sport.
Okay.
I mean, the numbers of players are skyrocketing, just like going way, way, way up. And I just think it's inevitable that there's enough smart people out there who are going to figure out how to make this work financially.
Yeah.
And we saw the FIVB get hit with that $300 million investment from a hedge fund, which is awesome. I just can't imagine a world of all these smart people who love money who can't figure out a way to tap the fastest growing market in sports. Yeah.
No, I have an optimistic outlook on it. As much as like we've had some dumb stuff over, through the bankruptcy of the AVP and then the Donaldson era has been great, but a slow process, and then COVID hit and blah, blah, blah. But I think there's new people getting involved and interested in our sport, not just players, but like people higher up who are seeing the numbers of, wow, this sport is ginormous. Not only globally is volleyball the biggest female sport. Pretty sure it's number 1, right?
Yeah.
Maybe soccer.
It passed soccer recently.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then, but also in the U.S.
Yeah.
From like, it's huge now. It's the
number
biggest
1 high school sport.
Yeah, exactly. And indoor and beach.
Yeah.
So I think just getting these new people involved, like, let's get, no offense to the older people, but like either evolve or bail.
Yeah.
Like the old stuff is what it is. Like time has changed so much. Technology has changed so much in these last few decades that we just need a fresh start. Look at it for what it is. USA Volleyball, FIVB, AVP, collaborate, be open-minded, and something huge, I think, can happen. And another thing that makes me really positive is makes me think positive about it is that the players, a few of us, are taking things into our own hands in terms of building our brands and okay, you're not going to build something for us, tour, we'll do it ourselves. We'll do a podcast.
Yeah.
We'll do a YouTube channel. We'll do, McKibbins are the top content creators in
probably in the whole volleyball world.
In the world of volleyball. And I mean, their page is so small compared to a lot of pages in other industries. Yeah. So it's just the beginning. And I think we have some good leadership from the players side of things
for sure.
As this new wave comes in. So yeah, I'm optimistic, and if things take off, I want to be positioned to capitalize on it and take it as far as we can take it. Yeah,
I mean, I think you've done a good job of that. You took a crazy negative with the autoimmune disease and you turned it into a podcast, and now we're talking to the IBVPA. We got to figure out a better way.
IBVPA, International Beach Volleyball Players Association.
Yeah, so we're going to become the official podcast of that, which is awesome that now we're going to have. So for our listeners, we're probably going to have some more international guests coming on, which I think is exciting because just get new perspectives, and we've had a pretty high demand for international guests. So.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. That's huge. That's another thing that's huge, and we're just kind of doing it on our own. It doesn't matter where the rest of the sport takes us. We're going to take ourselves there. We wrote a book. Yeah. You're writing books all the time, but we wrote a book together. We did. That's pretty cool. So we're hitting the children category there, helping the kids out a little bit. And we have a documentary about the whole autoimmune disease that's continuing through this Olympic quad that we're working on producing and figuring out the platform for it. Yeah. The ending hasn't been written yet. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, there's a lot of good things in the works. Yeah. So it's exciting. And we'll do last question before you got to go. Is from Greg Chisholm, which is who's all going to FUDS? So FUDS is that biannual huge fours tournament. So now that I'm not going to Cancun, I'll be going back to FUDS. I lost to freaking Theo and Cam.
I know. I hate them. But so I'm not going to Cancun, so I'm going to FUDS. Lost to Trevor and Taylor in the finals last year, so got to win this one.
Trevor playing fours.
Yeah, well, he's set.
Oh, okay. That
he
makes
just
sense.
set Taylor every time.
Right.
It was unbelievable playing Taylor in fours. Because he just he swung for the deep seam out of the court every time. And I'd try to drop my hands at the last second and he'd know and just I was like, you must have been ridiculous indoor. Yeah. I got no answers. So it was fun playing him in his element.
So smooth.
Yeah.
Freaking guy.
So I'll be at FUDS, and as are a record amount of teams signed up. So
sick.
So people playing volleyball again.
Yeah, exactly. And COVID's gonna get lifted. We're gonna get it out of here, in the next few months or over this year, and everything's just gonna. Volleyball fans, we just go all in and enjoy it. Yeah. So listeners, appreciate all the fan questions. Keep them coming. We had about 30 this week. Obviously only got to about 8 of them. So we'll keep you guys for next month, and hopefully we'll have Savvy again. This might be one of our last in-person ones for a while. Oh, yeah.
We'll have one more before you're gone for a month.
Yeah, then I'll be, hopefully I have an ocean view. Yeah. And I'll be in my hotel room a lot.
Yeah. All right, well, that'll be this month's fan question episode. Shoots.
Later.